Hey guys, have you ever heard of the Taco Oak? Probably not, but some people claim it's one of the great historic places of Springfield, Illinois. Many oak enthusiasts across the world have studied its grafts and would be privileged to live so close to this phenomenon. This tree is significant because of its abnormal growth and its inadequate environment. In this video, you will hear from the guy Sternberg, who brought this tree to the spotlight by buying it in June of 1991. Let's hear more from him about how he stumbled upon this tree.
Okay, well, 1987 or 8, I think it was 1988. That was a Taco Bell restaurant back then, and I just stopped there to get a taco. And I went back out to the car, and it was hot. And I noticed a little tree about maybe twice as tall as me, right next to the dumpster, right above the old retaining wall, in a horrible place. And the thing had grown like 6 feet that year. And I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty good. So I came back next year to see, and it was twice that big. So I started, that was 1989. I took a picture of it, so I need to come back next year and thereafter to see if it maintains that growth. The next year it was doubled. And at the time, it was twice as tall as a light bulb. It was tremendous. So I contacted the owner. I found out who the owner was of the land, because the Taco Bell was just renting the property. And she was in California. I asked her if I could buy the rights to work on the tree and propagate it and so forth. Well, sure, young man, how about $50? So I sent her $50 gladly, and so now I kind of own the rest of the tree. They own the tree itself and the land, but nobody else can propagate it or mess with it a lot of this. When I got the rights to propagate it and everything from them, I went ahead and registered it because it's a very special tree, and you could see the growth rates, you could see the hardiness in that horrible situation. And a number of people wanted me to send them acorns, but you never know what's going to happen with acorns. So they hybridize and other things happen. So I went and labeled it and named it. Now it's called Taco Oak Worldwide. It's registered by the International Oak Society. And grafts of that are being sold worldwide, all throughout Europe, all throughout North America. So they all started right here. And I'm not getting anything out of it, but I'm just seeing that special trees like that get out there before something happens. The wind takes them down, or somebody gets a chainsaw. Oh, there's a tree, firewood. So just try to prevent that. And it's wonderful about 30 trees now that we have at Soil Forest are actually cultivars that are registered and so forth that we found over the last 50 years.
Do you have an estimate what the tree actually?
We can get pretty close. Like I say, it was 1987 or possibly 8. Then I was up there, and I went to throw something in the trash bin, and a tree that was a bit taller than I could reach. About that.
So why is this tree so pockets?
Well, I think that the toughness, first of all, the fact that it's you find these hybrids occasionally, but not when you're looking for them. You go and then 2 years from now, you stumble on one out, you live someplace. You can't just about say there's one there. They're pretty rare. And finding this one in a horrible situation that was growing, basically 3 years of growth each year, like triple flushing.
According to tree terms, a growth flush is a spurt of growth, notably the annual spring flush in temperate climates, when shoots elongate and early wood is laid down rapidly. Shoots and roots tend to flush in a complementary manner, one then the other.
Well, like I say, it grew from here to there that spring, and from here to here that summer, and from here to here yet before that summer was over. That's what we're doing, but on a great scale. So this will, the top of the tree would be taller than I am, just from that 1 year's growth. And it maintained that for the 7 years that I was watching it. I thought, well, it's just an anomaly. We had a wet year, but it wasn't. It was every year.
So could you go over again, the whole railroad thing, just briefly? Well, I was kind of a little bit lost.
Okay, there's two. But what it was, they had this slope that kind of came down this way, and they had taken railroad ties and built a wall out of railroad ties. And for several times, they had an old railroad utility, railroad ties that were their wall, if you will. And they were starting to get rotten, and it was falling apart, and they were afraid that it was going to fall down. And the only thing that was really holding that bank was the tree itself. It had roots when we worked on this that went all the way out to that light pole over there. Spend some money, they would take the old wall out, and I showed them how to do that without damaging anything. And they would come back in and put, they got the drainage below there, rocks, tile that take it out to the creek down there, under there. And then here they just basically knocked it down, took all the ties were already kind of sliding down. They were way out here someplace because they were just collapsing. So got all those picked up, leveled it, put in some fabric that controls the erosion, built all this, then put rock on top. And that was, I was not very involved. I was involved when they just started, and I came over once to a few questions. Other than that, it was their project.
You said it grew from like an acorn.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, they had their trash bin just behind it, like you could just touch the bin at the beginning against the tree. It was that close. And at that time, they hadn't planted anything. Well, they put a few little junipers along this wall. I don't think they had anything or so that had died from the trash bin, probably. But this had come up on its own. There were a couple other little weedy trees that also came up on their own. They didn't last too long, but this one did. This one outgrew everything.
What's the actual name of the species?
It's a hybrid. It's Quercus bebiana, Bebbiana, which is a hybrid name. And that's Quercus alba, which is white oak, crossed with Quercus microcarpa, which is bur oak. And it's the two parent species made this.
So Bebiana species?
Yeah, Quercus bebiana is the hybrid name. It's actually Quercus crosset. That's the leaf, but it's a lot longer. It's bigger than typical white oak. And the bur oak, sometimes you'll have like a narrow little slots in the middle. I can give a picture of those too if you want. That shows the differences in the leaf structure for the two species. And this one, if it was white oak, it looked at a red fall color. It didn't. But on the plus side, when white oak dies from things like this one thrives. So when you got something like that.
Now that we know the botanical name of the plant, let's find out how he came up with the silly name Taco Oak.
It was a Taco Bell restaurant. You have to call it something. And people are always looking for a short and phonic name that they can remember. And Taco Oak everybody remembers. So we just stuck that on it. And now it's no longer Taco Oak, the tree still is. But that's you name these things based upon some factor about them or about their site or about somebody who founded the result. There's always some connection with a name like that.
Since the Starbucks that was placed on the same property as the tree has been moved, the fate of the building is still undecided. This raises concerns for the fate of the taco tree as well. At the end of our discussion, Guy expressed his wishes to memorialize the tree by including a plaque mentioning the tree's history and importance on the wall for future visitors.